Good afternoon, world. Coming at you from Lyndhurst, New Jersey. This is the day after 9/11. My entire life, 31 years, I have seen an annual report of a certain watershed moment in American history that started on September 11th, yesterday, since 2001, right? 24 years I've been hearing nonstop coverage of this disastrous day, right? It's been a source of memes and political discourse and conspiracies and support for Americans and propaganda that supports the state. And I'm not even trying to make a moral stand on any of those things, right? However, what transpired 2 days ago, I believe to be the next watershed moment in American politics that will transform the future in the next 10 to 20 years. Now, if you read The Fourth Turning, Strauss, and his newest book that makes a lot of predictions and says that basically we are in this fourth turning event, you'll understand that what is coming is inevitable, right? It is a natural process that can date back to the Roman Empire, this transition of societies from one thing into the next, a transition of the economy, rising and falling of societies, of group cohesion within the society, of faith, rising and falling through the ages. And that turnover is going to be inevitable. It's here, right? I can't think of a single moment in recent history, even the attempted assassination of, at the time, a political candidate, right? Even then, I mean, if you don't know me, I was in the Army. And I've been in politics for the last 5 years. So the last 10 years, I've been exposed to, what the government does and what people think about what the government does, basically. And I've never seen the energy change like this. It was just overnight, I look at people who don't look like me, who see what I wear, and they kind of know, probably, or they assume what side I'm on. Fair enough. And the energy has just completely changed. People are afraid for the first time, really afraid. I think that back last summer, I was in Florida, campaigning, as I have been for years, right? Just going and talking to voters at the door, just asking, bothering people, seeing what their political opinions are. And, I remember the first person I spoke to after somebody Thomas Crooks took a shot at Trump, and this old lady cried, right? But there wasn't a sense of dread in the air as the days following. It was an expected event. People assumed that Trump was so hated that somebody would take a shot at him. So it was a miracle that he survived, right? But this is just completely something different. People have reacted to this in a way that reveals that people are not asleep to what's going on. So really, I just want to come on here and tell people, tune out. Honestly, y'all have got to calm down. You have to realize that we live in a media environment which is controlled by a totalitarian state, right? The process of modern warfare, the development of warfare over the last 400 years, over this modern period, which as I said, is coming to an end, has culminated in a surveillance state. It has culminated in complete control of narratives and factions. And if you talk to me privately, I know this is the first video I've ever posted. You know that, I'm not particularly public about this, but I'm willing to talk about it in person. And the fact is, we live in a propaganda state, right? I rail against factionalism, something that Madison had warned us about, or at least in the Federalist Papers, he was really trying to ease the anxieties of early modern industrialists, promising to them, so long as those institutions were maintained and freedom was maintained, and the original idea of what the country should be, the idea that the Founding Fathers put down on paper, that so long as there are strong institutions, factionalism isn't a problem. Go read Federalist 10. But we have become so factionalized. We have become so isolated in our in-groups. And truth itself has been so gatekept that the crowd cheering for the death of a man is the same crowd that is educated. It is the same crowd that boasts the opinions of the elite at every level. They are a homogeneous in-group cohort that cannot see outside of their friends and gaining brownie points for being salacious, because they see it as justified because everybody else is against them, right? And if you collectivize half of the country who are, let's be honest, people go to college. The standards for college admissions have gone down. The average, intelligence of somebody is well average in university, right? These are people who are smart enough to understand every talking point, but they are not smart enough to see the greater picture, or maybe not even that they're smart enough. It's more of that they are so in tune to their in-groups that they refuse to see outside of those groups. So when you see the elites owning everything from the farm to the trucks to the markets to your home, when you see the elite owning the institutions of truth, the universities, the media, both traditional media, private media, they own the talking heads, right? You have to realize that their understanding of the world, their antinatalist understanding, their wish to depopulate the world, their wish to control everything financially, right? If you go out there and you control every single transaction people make, all of a sudden there will be no crime, right? If you go and you take away everybody's rights, but you ensure that they exist in this utopian vision of what America could be, that's really easy to sell, right? But I'm here to tell you, don't listen to it. Do not listen to the propaganda. Do not listen to whatever the elites want you to believe. That is the last thing a smart person should even entertain. A smart person does not look at the murder, the very vicious, brutal murder publicly of a person and go, good, he deserved it. It is the group that's constantly touting empathy culture. So if you've read Goldman's book, He was a New York Times writer, right? He wasn't a psychologist. He didn't, his EQ, his over IQ debate is silly. It's really just a revision of Gardner's multiple intelligence and a simplification of it. These people touting empathy culture are exactly the ones who reserve empathy for only those people who are exactly in line with them ideologically, right? Like, you're deserving of empathy so long as you are, say, a certain gender, so long as you are a certain color, so long as you have a certain level of education, not just intelligence, but education, right? So long as you exist in the correct domains, so long as you associate with the right groups, you are owed empathy. But if you are not a-religious, if you are not a physicalist, a materialist, somebody who believes that this existence is brought up from just physical material, that mind plays is just an illusion of the physical, right? If you don't belong to the group of people, the atheistic cohort that wants to see all of our foundational institutions break down, then you are an other. You deserve no empathy. That is exactly what I have noticed over the last 10 years, and I just know where it's coming from. These people are afflicted. They are fatigued. That word is being thrown around a lot. People really don't understand what it means. Everybody's fatigued, right? It's not simply a racial thing. And you're seeing it now. Like I said, the energy changed overnight. I walk up to people who don't share the same skin tone as I do, or people who I could tell that they might not, resonate with whatever I wear on my chest. These people are afraid. It's strange. I don't like it. I don't revel in that fact. But let's get back on track. Yeah, this started a long time ago. This isn't new. I've been railing against the bureaucratic state for a very long time. I had an argument in a bar last year, right before the election happened, with some UPenn professors that it got so heated that eventually they started arguing that gold had no intrinsic value. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you know how much gold is in your phone? Like it has more intrinsic value today than it ever has. It's still an irrelevant point. Point is, people are so divided, they're willing to pick any stupid talking point just to argue with you against, just because they perceive you as an other, right? And, they'll outright say it to your face, you're an idiot. Forgetting that term has, historical medical context. Like, do you really think I'm 70 IQ at least? Of course not. But these people belong to a cohort which has been propagandized into just being a part of the revolution or whatever it is. All of that's fake. It's all pseudo nationalism. It is ideological nationalism, right? And this started, I know a bunch of people I know are probably more on the left. People I went to college with, a lot of people I was in the military with, not so much in my current job, which admittedly is in conservative politics, which the context of a conservative pundit being murdered is, weighs heavily on me. Could be me, could be you, could be anybody I know, right? Not think I'm even nearly at the level of popularity to get in the crosshairs like Charlie was. But the point is that since the Obama administration, all of the reins have been lifted from these, what I consider evil institutions within the government we have willfully put into office. The intelligence state. And I say the CIA all the time. It's not them, right? It's probably not even the politicians. Who knows? So people call it deep state. I think it's way too easy to just put a label on something and be like, oh, it's them. Reality is probably a mixture of multinational interests, corporate interests, these public-private relationships between the government, the power players, and the corporations. People say, oh, we're very quickly heading to fascism, completely forgetting that we have been essentially a pseudo-fascist state for 100 years. That is, if you listen to Mussolini, right? Mussolini said, the core of fascism is corporatism. How have corporations taken over America in the last 100 years? It's not new, right? Go to Dodge v. Ford, man, that was 100 years ago. Corporations' only interests are to their shareholders, not the employees, not the public. No. Open your eyes and realize what it is. During Obama's administration, he illegally removed all of the restrictions for the CIA to propagandize publicly, or domestically rather. CIA has always streamed propaganda across every nation that they want to topple over. Look at Central America in the 50s. Look at Iran in the 70s. Even, it is controversial to say because a lot of people are very pro-Ukraine, but look at the Ukrainian push following the events of 2014 and the involvement and the presence of only CIA with special operators that are still there, right? Your idols in politics should not be idols. There is only one idol on this world that you should look to, and it's within you. It is equally within you and without you. It is a spirit of truth that goes beyond your ego, right? By even the collective ego of your in-group. Of course, obviously, I'm Christian. I'm going to name that as the Spirit of Christ. It is ultimately a good thing. And if you're in an in-group that sees those people who can see beyond materialism as people who are idiotic, people who deserve to be shut up, as people who deserve to be killed, you are a part of a systemic evil that our civilization has been trying to avoid for thousands of years, right? I try not to get angry at these people. I try to love them. You should. And I do. I don't blame anybody for having these salacious opinions when they have been addicted to technology for decades. I keep bringing up this year around 2014. So when did algorithmic social media really come into play? Around 2014, right? It went from just you only see what your friends have posted to you're now given the most salacious content where your phone is tracking your pupils, and if you see your eyes dilate on something, it means that you're interested in it, right? And you'll just be continuously fed this evil drug that is as pervasive as opiates or sex or any vice any sinful thing out there. So put it away. Listen to me on here, sure, but put it away. Because this kind of technology has ruined our society. It has created a social disease that is almost impossible to get rid of. I mean, open your eyes at what's happening across the world right now. Look at Nepal. You want to take a guess at if the CIA was involved in this revolution? Do you think the CIA was involved in the color revolutions a decade ago in the Middle East? Probably, right? And what sparked this, the burning down of these government buildings in Nepal? It was, for one, massive corruption. It was there, it's here, it's everywhere. Every government is exactly as corrupt as it physically can be, But the one thing that sparked the kinetic action in Nepal was the government censoring the internet and the youth rebelling against that. They took away the drug of the masses and the public struck, right? That could very well happen here. Imagine if Gen Z, a massive generation of people who have been politically suppressed because of this drug. People don't get out of their house and register to vote. No, they just talk about it online, and hopefully somebody will vote the right way or whatever. Take away the drug, see what's going to happen. The government clamps down, say they do, on speech. The result will be kinetic. I guarantee you that. And it's on its way. Again, this is inevitable. It's an inevitable change. And, I mean, I'm not going to stop it. Not immediately. These wheels have been in motion for decades. And if you're not privy to it, if you've tucked away in your little corner, and maybe you even have an in-group similar to mine, and you think everybody is kind of on the right side or whatever, they're not. You're not in with the extremist group. And the government has labeled, even let's say in the Biden administration, they've labeled people domestic terrorists for simply purchasing a gun, for simply liking conservative pages on Facebook, for reacting to memes on the internet, right? All of them, probably including me, were placed on lists. Nobody talks about it, right? Is there that much of a difference between the government that existed 8 months ago and the government that exists today? I hope so, right? I hope the current administration is real and not just another puppet master working the strings. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. Even people on the left during last election cycle could see that whoever was moving the strings wasn't Biden, right? Probably wasn't Kamala. Might not have been anybody in the cabinet. Might have been who knows, right? I don't know enough to speculate, but I do know that something fishy. Something fishy happened. This is an outlier event among outlier events. If you think that outliers are just natural, that America itself is just an outlier, so we have all these mass shootings just because, well, Americans are bad and guns are bad. That's not it. There's no country on earth that has less than 1 million guns in it, right? You look at the UK, off the top of my head, I think it was something like 20 million guns, I think it's 60, 70 million people in that country. We have more guns here than people, right? And the power players in the government know this. They've known it since, the establishment of the CIA back in 1947, which coincidentally was right next to the establishment of, guess what, Israel, right? And before saying anything about Israel, right, because of this, I consider myself, an Israelite, right? Not Jewish Israelite, but any other kind of Israelite. But the new Israel is not a political organization. It is not a state. These premillennialists will tell you that it is, that you have to support it, because ultimately these Judeo-Christian values are at the core of what our society is. I'm not even arguing against that. Absolutely, Christian values at the core of the society. It's not just this one, it goes back many cycles. But what I saw in the last several days, I saw Charlie Kirk be brutally murdered. I saw the collective trauma response from society, which I was in the military, I was a first responder there. I've seen some pretty gruesome stuff. I consider myself, a put together, tough guy. I'm not very emotional. Some might say it's a problem. I don't know. Most of this response has been conditioned through my training and everything. But I see it for what it is. Everybody's extremely traumatized, and most people don't know how to handle it. So the people who are probably speaking out and going, praising this, they're probably just, to use their own words, low EQ, right? And they're just doing it, and they admit that they don't care about these social conditions that should make you a good person. They don't care that, somebody who's opposed to them has died. They say good. This is evil, right? But there's something fishy. Still something fishy about it. Charlie Kirk was starting to speak out and question the nature of authority in this global order. Starting to speak out on these things that a lot of people on the left have been speaking out against, and a growing number of people on the right have been, right? And what I fear the most is the dissolution of society and the disappearing of our right to sovereign thought, right? We were at a growing point in this country where it was starting to be okay to be on the political right and ask, what does Israel do for us, right? What does starting countless wars actually benefit us for, other than just eliminating the value of the dollar, at very least, But now with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, there is no more room for nuance. It is either I am on the side of those conservatives who are rightfully mourning, and whatever the media says, now goes. Previously, the American left was homogenous in their thought, right? It was rightfully anti-American imperialism, but also very politically motivated to support only their side, right? And the American right had the appearance of homologous thought. But if you're in the groups on the right, you'll know that there is a ton of discourse about everything, right? It is one of the actually downfalls of the right, is that nobody knows what's good to think anymore. And like when Trump was shot, for example, I was in Florida, and before that instance, there was about 25% of people still were very much Trump sycophants. Then there was a big portion, maybe 25 or 30%, who were never Trumpers, right? They weren't going to vote for him. And then there was that middle zone of people on the fence. But overnight, the talk at the door just flipped. Those people on the fence immediately were on the side of the Republican Party and Trump, and it changed very quickly. This is another one of those moments, but much more powerful. And I don't know what's going to come of it. That's scary. I'm hoping that the Republican base doesn't become ideologically homogenous in the same way the Democrat base has in the past. But no guarantees there. It's a day of mourning for more than just Charlie Kirk, right? But I have faith that this country can get through it. Ultimately, I hear from a lot of people saying nothing ever happens. Well, something big happened, right? At least one thing happened. Hopefully we can pull through this, man. But anyway, I've rambled for 30 minutes and walked around a park and talked into a phone I just bought. It's pretty nice. And used a little microphone that I bought last year. I went to Europe and I went a round the world trip with the intent to film people's reactions during what I saw as the precipice of a major world event, perhaps a war, global war, perhaps something, political upheaval, something like that. But I never really got to use it. And honestly, when I was going around Europe, it was just really depressing. People really didn't want to speak. And the people who did want to speak, it didn't feel right recording them. It was the people who, there was actually a ton of people who agreed with me, right? I met a ton of people who had normal views. A lot of people who describe themselves as hardcore leftists, as socialists. As it turned out, we're about one and one about everything, right? And it was so refreshing. Just get out of America and see the opinions of real people. But yeah, it just didn't feel appropriate. It felt more personal to just sit and talk with these people normally. So I never really got to use this equipment. I just learned how to use it, actually. Just paired it to my phone. And hopefully this audio is good. But yeah, that's about it. I am planning to travel again here in November. Haven't narrowed down exactly where I'm going to go. I've had some invites to go to some very obscure places, which I may or may not do. I don't know. I'm deciding whether or not I should go somewhere nice and wind down before I come back and start doing this all again next year. Or should I go somewhere that is maybe a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? I don't know. But yeah, if I post this, there's I think there's going to be more coming. I'm going to start speaking my mind more, speaking the truth, and really highlighting these locations I go. Right now I'm in New Jersey. It's kind of an interesting place. This place is actually beautiful. But yeah, I'll follow for that. It's going to be, veteran-focused content, some political stuff like this, probably a lot more. Travel-focused stuff, hopefully some good stuff. Maybe you'll be entertained. I don't know. I don't know if anybody can be entertained by an idiot talking in a park for 35 minutes, but If you made it through, congratulations. I'll buy you a beer if I see you. But yeah, all right, signing off. By the way, Clint Seal, if I didn't mention that in the beginning, follow me. I don't know. I'm not a person that was out here looking for all these likes and follows and attention. Never have been. But yeah, the new generation of people with sound minds speaking the truth needs to come, and shit, I'll tell the truth, or at least the way I see it. You might not believe it. Anyway, happy Friday, happy payday. See ya.